Hello, my dear friends. Nice to see you again. Today, I continue to bring you another extremely interesting story. Are you ready? Let's start exploring this story. Sarah Evans was a 23-year-old woman with dreams far beyond her modest circumstances. She spent her days working tirelessly at Jackson's Diner, a small, aging cafe tucked into the bustling streets of New York City. With its peeling paint, flickering neon sign, and creaky furniture, the diner seemed to echo Sarah's quiet struggles. Yet, within this worn-down cafe, Sarah had a rare gift. She could make anyone feel important. She wasn't just a waitress. She was a confidant, a source of comfort for customers seeking solace in their hectic lives. Despite grueling hours and meager pay, Sarah found fulfillment in her compassion. Each night after her shift, she would gather leftover food and hand it out to the homeless on her way home. To Sarah, this was just a small gesture, a routine. But to those she helped, it was life-changing. One rainy evening, the downpour seemed relentless as Sarah walked home, clutching her thin jacket tightly. At a bus stop, she noticed a small figure huddled under the shelter. It was a boy, no older than 8, shivering in his soaked clothes. His frail frame and frightened eyes made her heart ache. "Hey there," Sarah said gently, kneeling beside him. "Are you all right? Where are your parents?" The boy looked up with tear-filled eyes and whispered, "I don't have anyone. I'm hungry." Without hesitation, Sarah offered her hand. "Come with me," she said warmly. Ignoring her own exhaustion and the pouring rain, she led him back to the diner. The glow of its lights offered a comforting refuge. Inside, she wrapped the boy in a blanket and served him a bowl of hot soup. Watching him eat, a deep sense of peace washed over her. What Sarah didn't realize was that someone was watching. Across the street, seated in a sleek black car, was James Carter, a billionaire who had everything money could buy, except the one thing he truly needed. James watched in silence as Sarah cared for the boy, her selflessness and kindness leaving him mesmerized. "Who is she?" James murmured, his thoughts racing. For the first time in years, something stirred within him. Admiration, curiosity, and perhaps something deeper. The following days were a whirlwind for Sarah. Between double shifts at the diner and looking after her younger brother, Liam, whom she supported by paying his school fees, she hardly had time to reflect. Still, the memory of the boy's grateful smile stayed with her, a quiet reminder of why she did what she did. Meanwhile, James couldn't shake the image of Sarah. Though he was a man of immense wealth and power, her simple act of kindness had struck a chord in his heart. Her quiet strength and warmth haunted his thoughts, filling him with a longing he couldn't explain. Determined to learn more, James decided to visit Jackson's Diner. Around mid-afternoon, as the diner buzzed with activity, a tall, sharply dressed man entered. Sarah glanced up briefly, their eyes meeting for a split second before she returned to taking an elderly couple's order. At first, she dismissed him as just another business professional grabbing a quick lunch. But when the hostess leaned in to whisper that the man had specifically requested her to serve him, her curiosity was piqued. Turning toward his table, Sarah felt her heart skip a beat as their gazes met once more. His face seemed familiar, though she couldn't place why. His expression, calm and intent, sent an odd ripple of recognition through her. Still, she pushed the thought aside and approached his table with her usual warmth. "Good afternoon," she greeted, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. "What can I get you today?" The man, whose sharp features betrayed nothing of his thoughts, offered a soft smile. "I'll have today's special," he said in a smooth, calm voice. "But only if you promise to join me for coffee later." Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, I'm sorry," she replied, trying to remain professional. "I don't usually take breaks during my shift. Is there anything else I can get you?" The man chuckled softly, his laugh warm and knowing. "Just the special for now," he said, handing her the menu. Sarah nodded and turned away, but the lingering sense of familiarity gnawed at her. Throughout his meal, she couldn't help but notice his eyes following her movements. He seemed to study her with an intensity that made her uneasy but also intrigued. More unsettling was the way he observed her interactions with others. Every time she smiled at the elderly couple, exchanged a friendly word with a lonely regular, or gently helped a frazzled mother calm her children, his gaze seemed to follow, almost as if he were cataloging her kindness. Sarah was used to being observed. Customers often watched their servers, but something about his attention felt different. It wasn't casual or idle curiosity. It was as if he saw something in her that no one else did. When she returned with his bill, he handed her a credit card without a word. As she turned to leave, his voice stopped her. "Wait," he said, softer this time. She turned back, her brow furrowing slightly. "Yes?" The man leaned forward, his piercing gaze locking with hers. "Do you remember helping a homeless boy on the street last week?" he asked, his voice steady but tinged with curiosity. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Yes," she said, surprised. "How do you know about that?" He smiled faintly, his expression thoughtful. "Let's just say I saw it happen," he replied. "I saw a young woman who went out of her way to help someone in need. I was moved by your compassion." Sarah blushed, her cheeks warming under his words. "It was nothing," she said softly. "He needed help, and I just did what anyone would do." The man shook his head firmly. "Not everyone would have done what you did," he said, his tone resolute. "Most people would have walked by without a second thought." Reaching into his wallet, he pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to her along with the bill. "This is for you," he said, his expression serious. "Open it after I leave." Sarah hesitated, confused but too polite to decline. The man stood, gave her one last, enigmatic smile, and walked out of the diner, leaving her to wonder what the envelope contained. Unable to resist her curiosity, Sarah unfolded the note as soon as he was gone. Inside was a check for $50,000. Her hands trembled as she counted the zeros, her heart pounding with disbelief. Accompanying the check was a short handwritten note. "Your kindness has inspired me. Use this to create the future you deserve." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't believe what she was holding. More money than she had ever seen in her life. But who was this man? And why had he given her such an incredible gift? She rushed outside, scanning the street for him, but the sleek black car was gone. The road was empty. Standing there clutching the check, Sarah felt her world spinning. Her life had been a constant struggle, a race to make ends meet and care for her younger brother, Liam. Now, with $50,000 in her hands, everything felt different. This wasn't just a gift. It was a chance to change everything. The money could pay off their debts, ease their burdens, and give her the breathing room she had always dreamed of. But as grateful as she was, she couldn't shake the questions swirling in her mind. Who was this man? Why had he chosen her? Days passed, but Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious benefactor. His composed demeanor, quiet kindness, and life-altering generosity lingered in her thoughts. She felt overwhelmed with gratitude, but also conflicted. How could she repay him? How could she thank him when she didn't even know his name? Despite the questions, Sarah resolved to make the most of his gift. She paid off her debts, including Liam's school fees, and put the rest in savings. For the first time, she allowed herself to dream, to truly dream. She began planning her long-held vision of opening a small cafe, a warm, inviting space where people from all walks of life could find comfort, a hot meal, and a welcoming smile. It was a dream that once seemed impossible, but now, with the mysterious man's gift, it felt within reach. Yet, No matter how much Sarah focused on her goals, the man's face lingered in her mind, a puzzle she couldn't solve. She wanted to thank him, to understand why he had chosen to help her, but with no way to contact him, she felt helpless. Then, one evening, as she was preparing to leave the diner, something unexpected happened. A sleek black car pulled up outside, its polished surface gleaming under the streetlights. Sarah froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She recognized the car immediately. It was the same one the man had driven the day he changed her life. Before Sarah could fully process what was happening, the window of the sleek black car rolled down, revealing the man who had turned her world upside down. He smiled warmly, his gaze kind yet confident. "I hoped I'd find you here," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "You again," she said, her voice trembling. "Why did you give me that money? Who are you?" The man stepped out of the car, his tall frame exuding confidence and poise. But there was something different now, something in the way he carried himself that felt personal, almost familiar. Though still a stranger, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of a deeper connection between them. "I owe you an explanation," he said, his tone both serious and gentle. "My name is James Carter. I'm the CEO of Carter Enterprises." Sarah's jaw dropped. Carter Enterprises was one of the largest and most influential companies in the country. She had heard of it, of course, but never imagined she'd be face to face with its CEO. "Why didn't you tell me who you were before?" she asked, her voice laced with awe and confusion. James smiled softly. "I wanted to see how you would react," he said. "I've spent years building wealth, but I've never met anyone like you, Sarah. What you did for that boy wasn't just a random act of kindness. It showed me who you truly are." Sarah was speechless. She had never considered herself special. She simply did what she believed was right. "I'm just a waitress," she whispered. "Why would someone like you care about me?" James shook his head, his eyes locking with hers. "You're far more than that," he said earnestly. "You have a heart that money can't buy. The kind of compassion the world desperately needs more of. That's why I'm here." Sarah blinked, still struggling to process what was happening. She was just an ordinary woman trying to make it through life. How could someone like him, a billionaire CEO, see something extraordinary in her? James reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you," he said, handing it to her. "It's the deed to a small cafe downtown. Consider it an investment in someone who truly deserves it." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she looked at the envelope. She was overwhelmed, unable to find the words to respond. The tears weren't just from shock. They were from a renewed sense of hope she hadn't felt in years. "I can't accept this," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's too much." James smiled gently. "You don't have to repay me," he said. "Just promise me one thing. Keep being the person who inspired me. Keep helping others the way you always do." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. For the first time, she felt as though the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders. With James's incredible gift, Sarah was able to open the cafe she had always dreamed of, a warm, welcoming space where people from all walks of life could come together, share a meal, and find comfort. It became a beacon of kindness and community, much like the woman who brought it to life. And though she never could have imagined it, Sarah's simple act of compassion had not only changed the life of one homeless boy, it had inspired a man with everything to give her the tools to change countless more lives. Sarah kept her promise to James, offering a warm meal and a friendly smile to anyone in need. As her cafe, Sarah's haven, thrived, she never forgot the man who had changed her life. She didn't fully understand why he had chosen her, but she knew one thing for sure. Kindness, no matter how small, had the power to change lives. Months passed, and Sarah's world began to transform in ways she had never thought possible. Her small cafe became more than just a place to eat. It became a sanctuary. Each morning, Sarah greeted her regulars with a smile, and every evening, she bid farewell to new faces who found solace within the cafe's welcoming walls. But the cafe was more than a business. It was a community. Built on compassion and understanding, it became a safe haven for those in need. People struggling to make ends meet found comfort in Sarah's meals and her genuine kindness. The cafe was everything she had dreamed of, a place where no one felt invisible and every person was valued. Yet, despite the joy and fulfillment her new life brought, one question lingered in Sarah's mind. Why had James Carter helped her? Though her life had blossomed, she hadn't heard from him since the day he handed her the cafe deed. He had disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. Sarah had tried to learn more about him, but James Carter was as elusive as ever. There were no public appearances, no media mentions of his personal life. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Still, Sarah didn't dwell on it. She embraced the gift he had given her and focused on the purpose it brought her days. Running her cafe and watching her dream unfold was enough to keep her heart full. She found satisfaction in knowing she was making a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. One day, after a busy lunch rush, Sarah was cleaning up when the door to the cafe swung open. She looked up, and her heart skipped a beat. There, standing in the doorway, was James Carter. "Sarah," he said, smiling warmly, "I've been meaning to stop by for a while." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. You came back," she stammered, her astonishment evident. James nodded, stepping inside and glancing around. His eyes lingered on the art-lined walls, the laughter-filled tables, and the hum of conversation. "I had to see it for myself," he said, his gaze filled with admiration. "You've created something extraordinary here." Sarah was overwhelmed, a mix of gratitude, awe, and nervousness flooding her chest. "I don't even know how to thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "This cafe, it's everything I ever dreamed of. I could never have done it without your help." James smiled softly, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "You've already thanked me," he said gently. "Every smile you've brought to someone's face, every meal you've served with kindness, that's thanks enough. What you've built here is exactly what I hoped for." For a moment, Sarah was speechless, her heart full as she realized just how much that single act of kindness had rippled through her life and the lives of so many others. In that moment, she understood. Sometimes, the most powerful gifts aren't about the giver. They're about what the receiver chooses to do with them. And Sarah had chosen to create a world of kindness, one person at a time. Sarah swallowed hard, her heart swelling with emotion. The question she had carried with her for so long finally found its way to her lips. "But why? Why did you do this for me? Why me?" James stepped closer, his expression kind and sincere. "Because I saw something in you that I don't see in many people," he said, his voice low but full of conviction. "I saw someone who didn't just go through the motions. I saw someone who truly cared, about others. And I knew you had the potential to do something extraordinary with your life." Sarah's chest tightened, a lump forming in her throat. "But I'm just a waitress," she whispered. "Just a girl from a small town. I don't have anything special." James shook his head, his gaze unwavering. "That's where you're wrong, Sarah," he said firmly. "You have something that no amount of money or success can buy. You have a heart that's pure, and that's what truly matters." A wave of emotions washed over Sarah, relief, gratitude, and the profound realization that she had been given far more than financial help. She had been given a second chance, a chance to live a life filled with purpose and meaning. "I just want to keep helping people," she said softly, her voice steady with conviction. I want Sarah's Haven to be more than just a cafe. I want it to be a place where people feel like they matter, where kindness is at the heart of everything we do. James nodded, his smile widening. And that's exactly what you're doing. As the two of them stood in the cafe, surrounded by the hum of conversation and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, Sarah felt something profound shift within her. She had found her purpose. It wasn't about wealth or recognition. It was about connection, about touching the lives of others with the same kindness that had been shown to her. James's visit marked the beginning of a new chapter for both of them. While Sarah continued to run her cafe, offering a safe haven for those who needed it, James quietly supported her, not with more money, but with the reassurance that she had everything it took to succeed on her own. Over time, Sarah's Haven grew, transforming into more than just a neighborhood cafe. It became a movement, a living testament to the power of small acts of kindness and their ability to ripple through the world, changing lives in ways no one could have predicted. As Sarah looked around at the community she had built, the strangers who had become friends, the lives she had touched, she knew her journey was far from over. She would continue to serve, to give, and to inspire. And though she never fully understood why James had chosen to help her, one truth remained crystal clear. Kindness, no matter how small, held the power to change everything. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's story. For more inspiring stories, please subscribe to our channel. Your support is our great motivation. Goodbye and see you again in the next stories.